Locking gear.
Well, hello guys, this is your sim trainer. I would like to welcome you back to my channel. I know it's been a very long time since I've put up any video, but in all honesty, I've been busy with my own training and job takes a major part out of my life these days. But yet, I'm back here and happy to be back with you guys and with another video. And this video is going to be solely based on the topic that a lot of people are enthusiastic. New pilots are enthusiastic as well as very keenly looking forward to. So, first things first, what is a base check? So, if you talk in regulatory speak, base check is a training or is like a it's training come check for any CPL holder who is planning to operate a aircraft above 5.7 tons all up weight, so that will be max takeoff weight, to exercise his co-pilot or P2 privileges. So that is the definition. So in simple speak, any new pilot who is starting his career in an airlines or in a charter operation in any aircraft in which the weight of the aircraft is above 5.7 tons, he has to do this. So what is a base check? A base check is basically you, for the first time in your life, you'll be operating the actual aircraft from the right hand seat, and you'll be doing 6 landings, which can be visual circuit or 6 instrument approaches. It is preferred that the 6 landings are done visually because it takes up less time, and in the aircraft it's not only you'll be carrying 2 or 3 peers who have to do the similar checks, so it doesn't cost a lot to the company. In this assessment, the captain would be a type rated instructor or a type rating examiner or a designated examiner by the regulatory authority. And you also have a safety officer sitting on the jump seat. We call him the P3. He's a senior FO who's there to support you, help you, and guide you through the process. Now, first of all, a disclaimer. I'm from India, and recently people from India are having issues in buying the Navigraph subscription. So due to that, I might not be able to display you any kind of charts or something like that, but still I would try to put up a snapshot of the chart which I am using. It's basically a company provided chart application, a Jefferson FT Pro. I'll just put up a screenshot and try to show you what I am reading through. So I would just request you to keep up with it. If the screenshot is not possible, you might use your own Navigraph charts and I'll help you guide through it. Now, before we start, I have to explain you what the circuit patterns are. So first of all, coming to the circuit altitude. At what altitude do you conduct the circuit? During our flying school days, we used to do it on 1000 AGL, that is 1000 above ground level. But in these aircrafts, we are supposed to do it 1500 feet above the airport elevation. Today's airport is Jaipur, and Jaipur has a mean elevation of 1266 feet. You can open up any approach chart of the, and for any person who is new to aviation, the ICAO code for Jaipur is Victor India Juliet Papa, VIJP. You can open any of the approach charts, and you can, on the top you can see on the right side it says airport elevation and runway elevation. I'll again try to put a screenshot. If not possible, I'm so sorry. runway elevation is 1266 feet. So you add 1500 to that. So let's take it a roundup of around 1300 feet. 1300 plus 1500, that gives you 2800. So 2800 will be your circuit altitude. Now the two most important tracks would be your downwind and your final runway track. Downwind track is the one you fly opposite to the runway, and I'm again putting up the taxi chart if I'm able to. We'll be taking off from runway 26 and making left hand patterns. So the runway track would be 264 and the downwind track will be 084. So these tracks are to be remembered for every airport it changes. You can see it on the taxi chart. Most of the approach, like in an actual base check, your examiner or your TRI, in fact you yourself would love to fly the whole circuit in without any autopilot, because come on, this is what we are here for. We like to fly the aircraft manually. And after you depart, you turn downwind, you will be flying the aircraft in raw data mode. So that is basically your flight directors will go off, you'll be flying in track FPA, and that's how we proceed. Now I'll be putting up a screenshot of the visual circuit, as if somebody has like an FCOM or an FCTM, I would just guide you in a small way. If you could open your flight crew training manual, you can go to FCTM. From FCTM, go to procedures, normal procedure, standard operating procedure, go down to approaches. Once you're in approach, go to guidance management, go to visual approaches. You will see the chart there. If you're not able to see it, I'll again try to post the screenshot of the visual circuit and you will be able to see. So basically you take off in normal configuration, positive climb, landing gear up. Once you hit your circuit altitude, that is in this case 2800 feet, you start turning downwind. So you select track FPA. So first of all, you switch off your FTs, track FPA, you start turning and you dial in for, this is for the first takeoff. You set your downwind track 084, you start turning. Once you have established on the downwind track, again just to confirm, you have to confirm, and once you're abeam the runway, you have to confirm three things. You activate the approach phase in your performance page. Second, you check that the speed is managed. Third, you select the go around altitude. So go around altitude in this case will be our circuit altitude, that is 2800 feet. And of course you switch off your flight directors and you fly it in track FPA. And after you have selected your approach phases on, you have to make sure you hit your green dot speed, and once you're at your green dot speed and abeam the runway threshold on the downwind leg, you go flaps 1. Now when you approach the other side of the runway, that will be runway 08, once you're above runway 08, you start the timer. Now usually this is flown after the threshold, it is flown 3 seconds per 100 feet. So you're 1500 feet, so you'll be flying 45 seconds outbound, plus minus 1 second for every knot of head or tailwind. So basically headwind, if there's a headwind you add, if there's a tailwind you subtract. So 45 seconds down the line, 45 seconds is completed, you go flap 2 and you start turning your base. Once you're turning your base, now things will speed up quite quickly, because you are going into flap 2, you're turning base, and you establish a shallow descent as well of around 200 to 300 feet per minute. After that, once landing gears are down, flap 3, you should be established on your base. You should be looking inside and outside. While looking outside, you should try to look outside on the runway, because it's a visual circuit, it's a visual maneuver. And once you feel that you're right around and compensating for the cross or tailwinds, you would like to align yourself on final track, and yes, you should be dialing in your final runway track. That will become 264 again in Jaipur's case. Once established on final track, you go flap full. Once flap is full, you'll do your landing checklist. Landing checklist, Once it is complete, then you conduct your normal landing with the puppies. Now, visual circuits, you have to do 6 landings, so these will all be touch and goes, apart from the last one. Now, for the touch and goes, you will not, I repeat, you will not use reverse thrust or auto brake. Alright? Because once the reverse thrust is engaged, it has to be a full stop. You can't do anything anymore. Okay? So, once you have touched down, once you're stabilized on the runway, you have to keep your thrust on idle. The examiner, who's your captain, will bring one notch of flap up. Once you've stabilized, this time the takeoff will be conducted in toga mode, not in flex but in toga. You go toga, now your rotation speed becomes the approach speed, which will come as magenta selected speed on your PFD scale. Once you hit your approach speed, V1, rotate, you again rotate, and the flaps will be retracted as per your S and your flap and slat speed. Again, once you're in the air, you do the whole thing again. Alright? Now, just a disclaimer, this whole exercise is conducted by a 2-crew cockpit. Okay, 2-crew cockpit, but over here, I am the only one who's operating both the seats, so you have to give me a little leeway, and I will be using some amount of autopilot during your crosswind as well as the downwind leg, because I have to configure the aircraft. I can't be doing everything, and I don't also have a joystick along with me, and I'm just using a basic Xbox controller. So for this part, let's get inside the cockpit and start a preparation. So I have not started up the aircraft, so just through the normal flows. Radar predictive wind shear is off, engines are off, thrust is idle, landing gear is down, wipers are checked, off, your batteries are above 26.5, and just let's put on the external power. There you go. And we are waiting for the and we align the IRSs now, IR1, IR2, IR3, and we have to wait for the triple click. Meanwhile, when the triple click comes, in the meanwhile, let's just, so this is not the procedure, you have to do the APU fire test first, but just to save time, we'll start initializing the aircraft. So I won't be going much into detail, I'll just try to speed it up. Flight number, India Golf Oscar, sorry, India Golf Oscar 23, okay, let's go 221. So departure would be Jaipur, and destination again would be Jaipur, and alternate, let's keep it Jaipur again because it's VMC conditions, we can always come back. Estimated time will be 1 hour, and that is initialized. And going to init page, VIJP slash VIJP. Okay, and flight number is the same, IGO 221. So basically our call sign is iFly, but we'll keep it, but the one we write here is India Golf Oscar, and our alternate again is VIJP. And we have just missed one part because we were waiting for the triple click. So let's test the APU. There's the alarm, successful test. Now you switch on the batteries. Battery 1, battery 2 is on. Okay, after this you initialize your EFPs and check the validity of the data, your MELs, CDLs, the tech notices, if any, for the aircraft, any OEBs that need to be discussed. After that, the co-pilot, before stepping out for the walk around, gathers the weather data. So I will be using the live weather I have over here, so, and I will set it accordingly. So Jaipur is currently reporting a QNH of 1001. So 1001, 1001. Okay, there it is, and then it is 29.56, and I'll just set it up. 29.56, 56. There it is. and we have a mean wind of 280 at 11 knots. So 280 oh, at 11 knots. Okay, it's a little windy, a lot of headwind. That'll help us out actually. That is there, that is set. Now going back, and after that you do your initial performance calculations and get back, and the pilot monitoring goes out for the walk around. In the meantime, you start setting up the BF starts setting up the aircraft. So crew supply is on, ground control is on, that's done. Strobes to auto, seatbelt on. Let's just say the refueling is complete, no smoking to on. Landing elevation is auto, and let's switch on the pumps. Engine 1 fire test, engine 2 fire test. The panel is set. Over here the brake accumulator pressure is a little low, so I'll switch on the yellow electric pump. The timer okay, over here let's just set up 1001, and the yellow electric pump has brought up the brake pressure. Then we can switch it off, and that is set, that is set. You run the clock is working, landing gear is down, anti-skid is on. You configure the RMP. That is done, that is done, that looks good, and that is done. Now you come down to the brain of the aircraft, the MCDU. You check, you go by the acronym DIFSRIP. So position monitor, it's being aligned, and aircraft status, performance factor is checked. You go to init page A. Let's say we're gonna fly at 5, and cruising altitude will be 2800 feet. That is as per. And the external temperature, oh I'm sorry, I just forgot to set up the outside temperature. That would be, currently Jaipur is reporting, Jesus Christ, 43 degrees Celsius. Wow. So that'll be close to, yeah, if you're somewhere in Europe and you're in, what do you say, America, I will actually bring it down to, let's just say, 30 degrees. I'm not bringing it to the actual. The actual is right now 43 degrees Celsius, because if I put it as that, that'll just create new kinds of issues. I'll tell you later on, because I'll discuss this while we are in starting up the aircraft. Because short answer, the aircraft we are using, this has the IAE V2500 engines, and the auto start has a limitation of 35 degrees Celsius. So if I try to start it up at 43, it might give me a starter fault. So I just don't want to go through that ECAM. Okay, so initialization is done. Flight plan, departing runway 26, that is done. No SIDs. And for approach, let's do one thing. We'll put in no approaches, but we'll just put in runway 26. It'll just give us a extended line, and it just helps you out. And also, the circuits are usually flown in a radius of, the circuits are usually flown in a radius of 3 miles. So just as a reference, what we can do, Julie Papa, ref page, and radius of 3 miles, you can just put it in. So that becomes a reference once you are here, and you put return. So that is done. Secondary page, copy active, nothing required here. That is done. Radio panel, Julie Papa. Okay, that is there. And you go to initialize page B. And now let's start loading up the weight and balance. So, and as I've told you, no passengers, no cargo, just fuel. So this will be the only time you'll experience the full power of the aircraft. Let's carry close to 9 tons. So that is done, that is done. Load the aircraft, instantaneous, and let's send it to the MCDU to save their time. And it is all over there. We have an average headwind component of 11 knots. So let's put it in 11. That gives us all, and progress VIJP just for reference. And for performance, let's calculate the speeds. And I'm just doing it automatically everything so that we don't waste time on this and we can spend more time in the air. Okay, no forced toga, optimal configuration, that is good, that is good. And that gives us 132, 132, 133, flex of 68. So that's calculated, sending it to MCDU, and that is done. That is all down there, 0.7, that is good. And we also set up the approach phase because we won't have much time in the air. So 1001, temperature is 43. We are taking it as 43 actually. Winds are at 280 at 11 knots, and transition will be 65. Barrow, so these are the minimums for a visual approach. The barrows are fixed at 500 feet. Next phase, and yeah, one more thing, in our company we usually use 420 feet for thrust reduction, and so it is basically 400 feet per the HEL. So for Jaipur it will become 1300 plus 400, that will become 1700 feet. Okay, 1700, we put that here. That is good, that is good. Engine on acceleration 27,500, that is 1500 feet plus AGL, and that is done, that is good. And takeoff approach phase, that is done, and you just add 2 yeah, that is good. Okay, so MCDU is completely set. Once the co-pilot returns, he cross-checks the MCDU and both pilots seated, and we set up the EFIS panel. So QNH 1001, viewer 1, viewer 2, constraints, altitude of 2800, and this goes on, constraint, FT, that is set, and then you check climb nav 1 FT2, reading 1260 on my side, 1260 on his side, that is good. Oxygen test is completed, you go here, landing elevation, so we check the pressurization pair, landing elevation is auto, fuel loaded, it should be, that is 9,000 kgs balanced. After this you call for the cockpit preparation checklist. Once the cockpit preparation checklist is complete, we can actually start our APU and prepare for our pushback. And in the meanwhile, the what do you say, the pilot monitoring usually starts getting clearances, and if any, but we do not require any clearances in this case because we'll be just be flying the patterns. And I am showing you all this how to set it up, but mostly in your case for a base check you'll be sitting behind in the passenger seat at this moment, because mostly the junior first officers are called inside the cockpit once you are on the hold short line. This all thing will be set up by the captain as well as the P3, who will later move to the jump seat. Okay, so APU is about to start up. Standing by, and it seems kind of a beautiful day to fly around actually. Yeah, looks good. Yeah, a little cloudy, but seems fine. Yeah, so APU is online, we can take the bleed and transfer power. Power is transferred, everything is set up. You do before start checklist, beacon on, and let's just
Hello, Captain. We are ready for pushback.
and just to make it a little more realistic, it's a long taxi because we have to go all the way down there. So what we can do is we can do a one engine taxi. I would make a separate video on a one engine taxi because the procedure is same,
Departure check
but the warm-up time for the aircrafts is different. So this is a IE V2500, so it takes 5 minutes. The Pratt & Whitney 1100G takes no time, 0, and these are all the new engines, the Pratt & Whitney 1100G, and the Leap 1 Alpha takes 3 minutes. For this it will be taking 5 minutes. So what we can do is push back, face Once we disconnect, we'll start up the other engine and wait for 5 minutes as well. And before somebody asks why do we do an one engine taxi, it is usually done to conserve fuel, because come on guys, airline businesses to make money. They're not doing charity here, so they try to do it. Okay, the tow truck is attached. And we'll face east. So nose right, tail to the left. Yep, there it is.
Release parking brake.
Parking brake is released.
Commencing push.
And we switch on the transponder and we start up the timer as well. And once the ground has actually given us the permission to start up engines, so starting engine 1, you do the one engine taxi checklist. Brake accumulator pressure is checked. Thrust level 1 idle confirmed. Engine mode selected to ignition start. All engine parameters is normal. Engine 1, and you check the bleed pressure as well. That is good. Engine 1 start. And this is actually the moment when you hear the air conditioning in the back going off. This is where like people start touching their vents above their heads if the air is coming. It's not actually coming because all the bleed from the APU is being directed into the engines to give it the starter. So the engine 1 starts up.
Please set parking brake.
Parking brake is set.
Waiting your confirmation for a
And let's
potential
just
start.
give them a confirmation that the engine has
Cockpit to
started.
ground. We have a good engine start. You can disconnect.
And we'll just make one thing change over here. We'll require the incremental thrust. So that is on. And after the engine has started, mode selector normal, yellow electric pump on, APU bleed off. That is done. For the PM, spoilers armed, rear trim neutral, config 1 plus F, and you set the trim up 0.7. Sorry, up 0.7. Should be right about there.
Tow truck disconnected. 5 bus pin removed. Left is clear. Right is clear.
And after that, to complete the one engine taxi checklist, nose wheel, steering disconnect memo, check not displayed, it's not displayed. Confirm thrust settings, flex was 68. That is checked, and we can ask for taxi now. And the moment we start taxiing, we'll start up the other engine just to so we reduce the warm-up time actually. And the after start checklist is only done after the second engine starts up. Okay, there we have it. Have a good trip. We will. Taxi light on. Runway turn off light on. Releasing parking brake. And we don't even need to add thrust. The aircraft is so light. So start up second engine. Starting second engine. Yellow electric pump off. APU bleed on. Start a timer for 10 seconds. Mode selector normal. And we have to wait for 10 seconds now. This is essentially so that the bleed pressure builds up. Okay. There it is. 10 seconds up. Starting engine 2. Brake pressure. Check in the green. And we are starting up the second engine as well now. Second engine starting up. And we'll be exiting this Mike taxiway from Sierra, then Uniform 1 all the way down to holding point Papa, runway 26. And we are waiting for the engine to start up. Engine 2 has started up. You start the timer again for 5 minutes. After start, mode selector normal, APU bleed off, APU off, engine ITI is not required. Now you go for the after start checklist. When the after start checklist is done, you can do your taxi flows. So we'll do it once we exit from here onto the other taxiway. And just as to make it look how the actual commercial operations work, to give you a slight hint of it, we'll be doing a packs off departure with the extract to override position. And let's do our flight controls check. Once the aircraft is with the taxi line. Okay, that is done. So flight controls check, full up, full down, neutral, full left, full right, neutral, and the PM does the same. And just as a hint guys, this would be a good time to check the pitch trim. So it says up 0.7, up 0.7, and if there's a slight variation, the PM pilot monitoring can rotate the trim wheel and set up the correct pitch. And after that, once that is complete, you do your taxi flows, auto brake to max, radar predictive wind shear on, takeoff config test done, and we are waiting for the cabin to be ready. And we have to give it 5 minutes for warm up as well. And you remember me drawing up the final approach for runway 26? This is what we get. You get the final line. It helps you out, and this is the 3 nautical mile radius. And I'm just slowing down so the 5-minute timer comes up and the engine is warmed up. Cabin seems to be ready.
The cabin is now
There it
secured for
is.
takeoff.
And the cabin is now secured. And now you may... Oh, where are we going? Where are we going? This happens when you do a single pilot operation. Extract to override. And let's just say we are clear to enter the lineup and runway 26. So TCAS goes to TARA. That is done. And packs 1 and 2 come off. Lights to strobes to on. And after that, you conduct your lineup checklist. And if you're wondering why my aircraft is wobbling, it's because of the crosswinds, because it's a heavy headwind of 11 knots. And you use your oversteering method so that I don't eat up the runway. There it is, and there you set up. Okay, still waiting on the time. Let's just say we are clear to take off. So nose light to takeoff position. Everything is set. Warm-up period is about to be complete. Okay, takeoff clearance is obtained, takeoff path looks clear. Takeoff. Thrust to 1.05 EPR, half side stick forward. Once the engines have stabilized, to push forward, start timer, Manflex 68 SRS runway, auto thrust blue. Thrust set. "100 knots, check. Side stick to neutral position. V1, rotate. Positive climb, get up. And I'm going to switch on the autopilot because it will help me a little. Lever climb, PAX 1 on. Coming on to S speed, flaps 0. Flap 0, spoilers disarmed, lights come out, and pack 2 and extract. Done. And you can stop the timer as well. And you dial in. Once we are at our circuit altitude, start turning the other way. So our downwind track is of 084. And as you can see, we are currently in heading mode. I'll tell you when to switch it off. 084. Beautiful aircraft, I must say. 30 years. It was built around 35 years. Not a single thing has changed inside the aircraft, and still is as relevant as 30 years ago. It is one of the most easiest aircraft to fly, I will still say that. So remember, once we are abeam the runway again, activate approach phase, FT is off. Okay, so we are on our downwind track, FT is off. Both side FC is off, track FPA, and now you set the track off 084. That is set, and now we are abeam the runway. Activate approach phase, and the approach phase is already activated. Once the approach phase is activated, below and you're close to green dot speed, flap 1. And we are getting one hell of a tailwind. So once we start the timer, 45 seconds minus 20 knots. Okay, we are abeam. So start timer. So this will be okay. Starting timer. So we are waiting for 45 minus, oh god, it's gone up to now, Jesus Christ, 30 knots now. So we'll keep it up for 30 seconds. 30 seconds up, flap 2, stop the timer, and we dial in the final approach track. That will be 264. Yeah, be 264. And I'll be taking manual control because I have to establish a shallow. Autopilot comes off. Base is established. Get down. and you establish a shallow descent as well. Okay, gear down, arm the spoilers, lights come out. Okay, and once established in the base, we are heading. Okay, that's way too much. And now keep looking out and in and out, in and out. You have to be around at 200 or 300 feet per minute. And we are in base leg, flap 3. Okay, and once you can see you're coming on the final alignment, slowly you pitch down 200 300 feet per minute, and you start turning final now. And remember, we are not switching on any auto brakes or taking any reversals in this landing. 1000 feet checked, stabilized. There's our runway. You adjust your turn and you're on finals, so we can easily take now flap full. Flap full, stabilized. Once the flaps is full, you can do your landing checklist. Landing checklist, awaiting for the ECAM memo. And we are getting 20 knots of headwind, 130, so it will give us a shallow descent of around 700 feet per minute. So we'll keep it at 700. 700 will give you 3 degrees glide in. And look outside and inside, look outside and inside. So that will give you 700. Poppies, 2 red, 2 white. Landing checklist, ECAM memo, landing no blue. Cabin is ready. 400 feet, check. We're getting a little high, so I just increase my descent rate to do not exceed 1000. That will give you a sync rate warning. Okay, and keep going, 2 red. Okay, now on profile again, back to 700 feet per minute. Okay, again we're getting a little low, and
100.
you like to cross the threshold at 50 feet.
50,
50,
40, 30,
30.
20. Retard.
Thrust to idle. Oh, that was a little hard. Okay, thrust to idle, 1 notch of flaps up. That will be done by your PF. When the aircraft is stabilized, you go toga. Stabilize, let's go. Man toga SRS, go around track. Auto thrust blue. There comes the power. And the takeoff speed, rotation speed becomes your approach speed. That is close to 138 if I'm correct. Okay, V1, rotate. Positive climb. Gear up. Autopilot 1 again on. Okay, there it is. And you bring back flaps to 1. Lever climb, and you are once again in at your circuit altitude. Okay, we might bust it a little. Okay, and okay, and above S-speed, flap 0. Once established, so this was your first touch and go. Again, you're at your circuit altitude, start turning. I have to pull heading. Again 084 on the heading. Okay. Usually after your first landing, some of the examiners like mine wanted us to fly the second and all the approaches in flap 1 configuration by pulling speed at 180 knots. That's also fine. You can actually take it's, as you can see, this managed speed right now is 180 knots, and so like that. Again going around, and this time I'll just do a full stop landing, so I will be arming my auto brake to low this time. Okay, and we will be taking some reverse thrust just to stop. Okay, so I'll make this a final landing. Again, established on the downwind track. FT is off. track FPA, track of 084. Once abeam the threshold, we'll activate the approach phase. Okay, we are abeam our runway, approach phase activated. Okay, approach phase activated, flap 1. Okay, we are coming abeam the runway, and we're gonna start timer again for, again it'll be 30 seconds. I'm taking it as 15 knots of tailwind, so we'll give 30 seconds. 30 seconds. There you go. And yeah, we have to disarm these spoilers as well this time again. So this will all be done. This happens when I'm single man crew. So this is to be done by the pilot monitoring. 20 seconds down, 10 seconds to go. "30 seconds up, you stop the timer, flap 2, and you start your, again, turn back towards, you dial in your final approach track. That'll be 264, that is the track for the runway. Established, flaps 2 are down, get down, and speed brakes armed, lights again come out, and I'm again gonna take the manual control because we have to establish a shallow descent. Okay, how do I take this off? Okay, that is done. So on our base, I am leveling out, establishing a shallow descent. On our base, shallow descent, 200 feet per nautical mile, for 200 feet per minute. Base established, flap 3. And remember guys, you're flying a fly-by-wire aircraft, so you don't have to constantly jostle with the side stick. You just put in, you input your action and it just stays there because it trims your aileron as well as your elevator. So coming up on our final approach track, I'll start turning now. And again, headwind of 20 knots, that'll give us a 3-degree angle, that'll be of around 700 feet per minute. Turning into final approach track, flap 3. There it is. Keep looking inside and outside. With the poppies now, I might have overshot it by just a little. 1000 feet, stabilized. So I'm just gonna turn in again a little, and you start your descent. Okay. Coming back again. 700 feet per nautical mile, that will give us a good descent rate. And coming down, flap full, and standing by for, you can just clear this so we can get the ECAM memo as well. ECAM memo, landing no blue, cabin is ready, landing checklist complete, and we can start. Oh, we got a little high, so I'll have to push it down a little. 1000 feet, at max 1000 feet, you'll get the sync rate indication. And again guys, we'll be taking the auto brakes that we have already taken, as well as your reverse thrust as well. Okay.
400.
And we are above a little glide, so that's why I'm going below 1000 feet. You wouldn't be doing this in base check, otherwise it's a mandatory go around because you can't have this kind of sync rate. So 2 reds, 2 whites, back to 700 feet per minute,
200.
and keep descending. 200 feet, check. Okay, 3 reds, bringing it up a little. 100 feet, 50 feet over threshold, that's the mark. Okay, there it is. 50 feet,
40. 30.
and flare,
20.
thrust to idle. This seems better. Okay, reverse thrust.
That was tricky. Good landing after all.
Yeah, good landing. Let's just say that. Okay. Okay, 70 knots. Thrust to idle, taking out the auto brakes. So we just keep rolling and we'll vacate over here. So for a 90-degree turn, 10 knots or below. There it is. Let's start turning now. Oh, where are we going? Okay. All right. So there it is. Apply parking brake. Let's do the after landing flows. Landing lights off. Auto. Taxi. Off. That's the PF flows. And PM flows would be radar predictive wind shear off. Okay, come on, man. Off. Off. Disarmed. Flaps go up. That is done. That is done. And no smoking to off. Then on. That is done. After landing checklist. Radar predictive wind shear off. After landing checklist complete. So guys, that's pretty much it. How you will be doing 6 landings in a single go if the situation permits. And that's pretty much about the base check. If you have any queries, I'm sorry about, first of all, about the hard landings. I know they are hard landings. I don't have much control over them because I'm just operating out of a simple Xbox controller. I don't have a joystick or anything like that. And sorry I could not address you with a simple Navigraphs chart. But I really hope I have covered every aspect of a base check or a circuit or a visual pattern. And I would like to know your thoughts. Any comments in the comments section would be really appreciated. I really hope you like and subscribe the video. Help me and the channel to grow. And you also share the videos with friends who are also an aspiring pilot. And any of these activities would really encourage me to keep creating these videos. You can also send me any requests if you want a video on a specific topic. So this is your sim trainer signing off, and hope to see you in the next video. Thank you. Bye bye.